was TI4 for you this year?
It was good. I mean, we did more this year, right? If you think about what we did at TI3, it was me and Zoe. We were kind of thrown in at the deep end, like, you come over here and we'll sort out what you're doing when you get here. And I hadn't really worked with Valve much before that, other than the announcer pack. So I wasn't quite sure if that was just the way they did things or what. But so we came out for TI3 and we just sort of did some interviews, and it was a bit sort of ramshackle, if you like. But the international itself was amazing. TI3 was incredible. And then for TI4, we had a decent idea of what we were going to be doing. And because it was casting, we were behind the scenes a lot. So it was kind of a different feel compared to TI3. Because TI3, you had Benaroya Hall, and then TI4, obviously, you've got Key Arena. So it's not quite the same vibe. But I think overall, it was very different from TI3. Like, really, I haven't spoken to anyone who said, oh, knock TI3 for 6. You know, it was all, TI4 was amazing. Like, so far, TI3 seems to be like the benchmark. I think the problem is following that is always going to be hard. But I thought overall it was really good. If the games in the final had been better in terms of as a neutral spectator, then we'd be saying it was a huge success. But as it is, I think it was very good, but it wasn't quite as good as it could be.
How did you get into the Dota scene, or what was your first memory of how you got into it?
I have no idea. Like, I don't know how. Like, I made my initial video on YouTube, and I don't know why that got picked up, how it did, and I don't know why everybody suddenly got in touch with me. Like, this LD, before he was like a big caster, he was like he and Lumi used to cast just together, and they were like, oh, we really like your stuff. We want you to work with you. I was like, oh, okay. And then like Bruno got in touch and said, oh, I really like your stuff. It's really cool. I had no idea who anyone was on the Dota scene because I was brand new to it. I'd never watched professional Dota. I'd only been playing it for a few months. So he was talking about all these people and all these players and everything, and I had no idea. And I went to the first sort of job that I had was ESL in Katowice. I think it was 2 years ago. And they wanted me to do interviews. I didn't know who half the players were. Like, I had no idea. Like, so, like, go and interview S4. I was like, Zoe, which one is S4? She was like, oh, it's that guy. And, you know, subsequently, of course, knowing that he's, like, one of the best players in the world, it's embarrassing not knowing that at the time. But, so I was kind of thrown in, and I never felt like I was, like, everybody else had been doing this for years. So I was kind of new, but I was also the oldest. So people thought, he's old and wise, he must know things, but I didn't know anything. So the fact that I still kept getting work, I mean, I don't know. I just figure it's quite a small community of people, isn't it? So once you're in there, then you all get to know each other and it's easier. But in terms of how I went from not being involved to being involved, I have no idea. It was just magic for me.
How did you perceive the first international?
I had no perception of it at all. I was not playing Dota. I was not following it in any way. So it was a thing that happened. I had nothing. I had heard nothing about it. So TI1, to me, is just a mystery. I didn't see any of it, none of it. TI2 was my first introduction to Dota. And that was because my videos came out at the start of like 2012, I guess. And loads of people got in touch with me, and Valve got in touch with me about the announcer pack and stuff like that, like quite early on, like maybe 3 or 4 months in. Because I was putting out videos like all the time. And I spoke to Bruno and I was like, do you think I could get to TI? Because everybody was talking about it, and I suddenly got really excited about TI2. And I was like, oh, this would be amazing. And everyone was so hyped. And I thought, wow, is there a chance? And there was a chance, but then they just said it's too soon. Like, nobody really knows the stuff you do, and it's what would we do with you and all this kind of stuff. And I'm glad, because I would have been completely lost. Like, I would have had absolutely no idea. So then I had a year to get into the scene more and watch it more and get into Dota more and become sort of like establish myself a bit more in the scene. And so TI3 felt like really natural going to that. So my first real perception of Dota was TI2. And it was just, you know, I just thought, I've got to be here. Like, I really want to get to TI3. And they told me initially, we're not going to need you. I was crushed, because they were like, we don't want to play favorites. You know, we can't, if we take you, someone else will say, why didn't you take me? And it's one of those things where you think, right, like, what more could I have done? Like, I did loads of casting, I did interviews and stuff like that. Like, I really worked hard, and I just kind of felt like just kicked in the stomach. I was like, wow, like, I'm not going to go to TI. I'm going to miss out. Everyone I know is going to be there. I was devastated. And then I wrote this big sort of multi-page. I thought, well, I could either mope about it or I can try and convince them. And I sort of took a couple of days break. And then I wrote this big document, a list of all the things I thought I could do, ideas I had for TI, and I sent it to like 10 people at Valve, just basically saying, look, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm begging you to put me into TI3. And luckily they came back and said, all right, we've got something for you to do. And that was when I went with Zoe and we did all that stuff. So it was just a bit of luck and a bit of begging and hard work, and that was that.
Awesome. Seeing that the international this year is insanely big, $10 million prize pool, would you say it's comparable to other big sports like the Masters or?
I mean, the money in Dota 2 now is amazing, and obviously that raised its profile for the public. I mean, we're walking around Seattle, and there are people that have no connection to games, don't really play games, and they're talking about it, and they're talking about the money, and everybody's heard about it. I mean, that's the best advert you can have. Everybody knows money and the value of it. So when you have a $10 million prize pool, that's suddenly, whoa, what's this about? And then it's a newspaper headline, Dota 2, gamers play for $10 million. Like, I've seen that headline everywhere. And that's not something you could ever buy, because that's a story. That's an actual story. But, you know, in terms of what that's done for esports, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, it's weird. I don't really understand what people's perception is of Dota 2. So, that, you know, yeah, I've kind of forgotten where I was going with this.
Would you say esports is, or let's say in this sense, TI4 in this
oh, right, yeah.
comparable? Do we even need to compare it to
That's,
other sports?
in terms of comparing it to other sports, I think you've nailed it, because I hate the way, like for instance, okay, TI3 had a much more laid-back feel. The analyst panel and all is a bit funnier. As the money goes up and the viewership goes up and the publicity goes up, people feel a natural reaction of, we need to be more like regular sports. So then it's like we all need to wear suits, it needs to be more corporate and everything like that. And I think that is the worst thing to do, because we got here not by being like that, but by being different. If you want to be like that, go and watch baseball or American football or soccer or whatever. If you want to actually be true to the roots of the game and the community, I don't think you should go anywhere near a suit and tie, corporate look and all that branding and everything. I hate that. And if I hate it, then you're sure that the esports viewers, like gamers, are not about that kind of thing at all. So the idea that we need to be more like traditional sports and be on ESPN and everything, that for me, if they want to cover our stuff, I mean, it's not up to me, but if they want to cover our stuff, that's fine, they can have us look at it, but I don't give a damn what they think. Like, I care about what esports fans think. That's my market, that's my fan base, if you like. Those are the people I connect with. Why are you looking at anything else? I don't get it. I don't get it.